American-style pickup trucks are hitting Melbourne roads as sales reach record levels.
Imagine paying over $90,000 for a truck, only to see it selling for $8,000 just a few years later. What happened? It's not just a pricing glitch. This is a full-blown crisis in the truck market. Some of the most expensive pickups on the market are now barely worth anything. If you don't catch this, you'll miss the key reason why the value of your vehicle could be crashing too. What's causing the market to implode? Why are dealerships desperate for help? And if you don't know what's behind this drop, could your truck be next? Stay with me. By the end, you'll understand exactly how this shakeup affects you. GMC Canyon Denali. Once seen as a refined answer to the mid-size truck segment, the GMC Canyon Denali promised premium style and practicality in one neatly wrapped package. But today, models that once sold for over $45,000 are struggling to fetch a fifth of that price. In some cases, used examples with moderate mileage can be found sitting on dealer lots for under $9,000, begging for attention in a sea of newer, more appealing options. What happened? The Canyon Denali entered the scene with high expectations. It offered features like leather-appointed seats, chrome accents, a premium Bose audio system, and advanced safety tech, all within a slightly smaller footprint than full-size trucks. It was marketed as the upscale solution for professionals who wanted capability without sacrificing comfort or drivability. Many considered it a perfect blend, city-smart size, country-strong build. But those first impressions began to fade quickly. While the styling turned heads, the mechanical experience often left drivers underwhelmed. The standard 3.6-liter V6 engine was adequate but far from thrilling, and the 8-speed automatic transmission quickly became a sore point. Many owners reported harsh shifting, hesitation during acceleration, and long-term durability issues. Several forums and technical service bulletins highlighted transmission flushes and updates, but by then, damage to the model's reputation was done. Build quality also became a problem. Though positioned as a premium offering, the Denali trim suffered from rattling dashboards, premature wear on interior materials, and underwhelming suspension components that led to a surprisingly rough ride. For a truck carrying the professional grade badge, it often felt unfinished. Despite early marketing that positioned the Canyon Denali as a game changer, it failed to attract a loyal following. Fleet buyers avoided the high price tag, while luxury truck customers leaned toward full-size models. This left the Canyon Denali without a core audience, admired at launch, but quickly forgotten by most. Then came the depreciation. By the early 2020s, resale values had dropped sharply. Truck buyers, once excited by the idea of a luxury mid-size pickup, were now flocking to newer rivals offering hybrid options, better tech, and more reliability. Even base-trim full-size trucks began to undercut the Canyon Denali on price while offering more utility and better towing capacity. Dealers holding aging Denalis are in a bind. The typical Canyon Denali buyer has moved on to newer platforms. Meanwhile, the remaining inventory struggles with the stigma of weak transmission reliability and aging design. High fuel consumption for a mid-size truck, combined with declining parts availability, has further complicated sales. Today, the GMC Canyon Denali stands as a warning. Luxury badges and chrome accents cannot make up for foundational flaws. And when buyers feel burned by reliability concerns, they rarely come back for a second round. Coming up next, a truck that tried to win over diesel loyalists with a big-name badge, but ended up stalling out in no man's land. If you've ever owned one of these trucks, or dodged a bullet by not buying one, hit that like button. Got a story or a favorite model you think doesn't belong on this list? Drop it in the comments. I read everyone, and you might be featured next. Nissan Titan XD Platinum Reserve. When Nissan Motor Company unveiled the Titan XD Platinum Reserve in the year 2016, it was billed as the truck that would finally let the Japanese automaker compete with America's heavy hitters. Featuring premium leather interiors, high-end tech, and a Cummins diesel engine, it aimed to straddle the line between half-ton comfort and three-quarter-ton capability. On paper, it had everything buyers wanted: luxury, power, and durability. But less than a decade later, resale prices have collapsed, and dealers are practically giving them away. Some high-mileage models are listed for under $8,000. The Titan XD was Nissan's answer to a question most American truck buyers had already answered. They preferred domestic brands. Ford Motor Company, General Motors Company, and Stellantis North America had decades of trust, enormous service networks, and deep aftermarket ecosystems. Nissan entered late and struggled to earn loyalty, even with a strong product. Buyers were also confused by the Titan XD's positioning. It was neither a true heavy-duty workhorse nor a lightweight daily driver. This in-between category made it difficult to classify, insure, or compare directly with competitors. Many potential buyers simply defaulted to familiar options with clearer reputations and well-established capabilities. One of the Titan XD's main selling points, the 5-liter V8 Cummins diesel, turned out to be its biggest gamble. While the Cummins name carried weight in the truck world, this version was a one-off engine exclusive to Nissan. Reliability issues emerged early. Owners reported failing fuel pumps, problematic exhaust sensors, and expensive repairs. Parts were hard to come by, and few dealerships had the tools or training to handle the specialized diesel systems. Adding to the problem was Nissan's own retreat. In the year 2020, the company officially pulled the plug on the Cummins diesel program and scaled back the Titan XD lineup entirely. With that decision, current owners were left with trucks no longer supported by future product planning, essentially orphaned vehicles. Depreciation followed quickly. Resale values for the Platinum Reserve models, once priced over $65,000, dropped by more than half within just a few years. Even clean, well-maintained examples now sit unsold on used lots, competing with newer, more efficient gas-powered trucks that offer better tech and lower maintenance costs. The Platinum Reserve trim tried to project premium appeal. It featured quilted leather seats, real wood trim, a surround view monitor, and other upscale amenities. But buyers in this segment expect more than luxury touches. They want proven long-term value and robust performance under pressure. The Titan XD delivered comfort, but not the bulletproof reputation its rivals had built over generations. Today, dealerships holding on to these aging luxury diesel Titans face a brutal reality. With few buyers and increasing inventory costs, some are resorting to steep discounts, creative trade-in offers, or even petitioning for government depreciation relief to recover their investments. The Titan XD Platinum Reserve was supposed to be Nissan's bold step into the big leagues. Instead, it stands as a reminder that breaking into the American truck market takes more than a diesel badge and stitched leather. It takes trust, time, and proven staying power. Next is a muscle-bound monster that looked unstoppable on paper until real-world ownership brought it down to earth. Dodge Ram SRT10. When the Dodge Ram SRT10 launched in the year 2004, it turned heads and burned rubber. Built by Daimler Chrysler's Street and Racing Technology division, this truck was an answer to a question no one seriously asked. What happens when you drop a supercar engine into a full-size pickup? The result was outrageous. A muscle truck weighing over 5,000 pounds, powered by the same 8.3-liter V10 engine found in the Dodge Viper. It made 500 horsepower and 525 pound-feet of torque, sent through a 6-speed manual transmission in regular cab models and a 4-speed automatic in quad cabs. This was not a vehicle built for practicality. It had a lowered suspension, aggressive styling, and massive 22-inch wheels. The exhaust roared. The shifter was short and tight. Dodge even added a red push-button start and bolstered sport seats. It was loud, proud, and unapologetically American. The 0 to 60 miles per hour sprint took just over 5 seconds, unheard of in a factory pickup at the time. But underneath the madness was a truck that made little sense in the real world. The SRT10 got fuel economy in the low teens, sometimes worse. Towing and payload were limited. The ride was harsh. The interior, while slightly upgraded, still felt like a standard Dodge Ram from the early 2000s. Owners loved the thrill, but daily driving exposed the compromises. Despite its bold looks and record-setting specs, the SRT10 never found a wide buyer base. It was too wild for traditional truck owners and too truck-like for sports car fans. Positioned in a performance gray zone, it confused consumers and never built the loyal following Dodge had hoped for. Maintenance was another sore spot. That V10 engine, while powerful, required expensive parts and specialized service. Many shops were unfamiliar with the platform, and dealerships often charged premium rates. Clutches wore out quickly. Suspension components took a beating. Modified trucks suffered even more. Blown engines, cooling issues, and electrical problems were common among high-mileage or abused examples. By the end of production in the year 2006, fewer than 10,000 units had been sold. At the time, the truck had a sticker price approaching $50,000. But resale values began to fall fast as fuel prices rose and consumer tastes shifted. Buyers wanted efficiency, tech, and comfort, not V10 excess. Fast forward to today, and the Dodge Ram SRT10 sits in a strange market. Clean, low-mileage examples with full documentation can still command over $20,000. But most used models, especially those with high mileage or heavy modifications, now list for between $8,000 and $15,000. Some are even cheaper, gathering dust on dealer lots with no serious interest. Dealers holding onto these trucks are in a bind. Insurance premiums are high. Fuel costs scare buyers away. Younger enthusiasts prefer turbocharged performance cars with better efficiency and more modern interiors. To move inventory, some sellers are offering deep discounts, pairing the SRT10 with incentives or seeking help through vintage vehicle programs. What began as an icon of American speed has faded into a niche curiosity. The Dodge Ram SRT10 will always be remembered for its power, but today it's more likely to be remembered as a tough sell. Strap in, because the next truck tried to rewrite performance history, but today it's more forgotten than feared. Ford F-150 Lightning. Before the Lightning badge became synonymous with electric trucks and zero-emission utility, it belonged to something very different, a gasoline-powered street machine built by Ford's special vehicle team. From the year 2002 to the year 2004, the second-generation Ford F-150 Lightning was the boldest performance truck on the road. It was a two-door, two-wheel drive pickup with a single goal: go fast. Under the hood sat a 5.4-liter supercharged V8 engine, producing 380 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque. It sent that power to the rear wheels through a heavy-duty 4-speed automatic transmission. This was a truck that could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just over 5 seconds. Staggering performance for a full-size pickup of that era. But raw speed came with trade-offs. The Lightning had no rear seat, limited towing capability, and a lowered suspension that ruled out serious off-roading. It was fun, but not practical. Fuel economy hovered around 11 to 12 miles per gallon, and insurance premiums were sky-high due to its classification as a high-performance vehicle. Yet for a time, it was a cult favorite, beloved by muscle car fans who wanted their thrills in a truck body. At launch, the Lightning stood alone in its segment. There were no other factory pickups that offered such focused performance. Ford marketed it as the ultimate street truck, and for a few years it lived up to the hype. But by the mid-2000s, things started to change. Fuel prices began climbing, emissions regulations tightened, buyers shifted toward crew cabs and tech-filled interiors. The Lightning's Spartan cabin and thirsty engine started to look dated, and when production ended in the year 2004, Ford didn't immediately replace it. Instead, the performance pickup market paused, and the Lightning was left behind. As the years passed, the truck's resale value fell sharply. Maintenance costs rose. Some owners heavily modified their Lightnings, chasing more power but sacrificing reliability. Blown engines and failed transmissions became common stories. Parts became harder to find, especially for stock restorations. Meanwhile, the Lightning's interior aged poorly. Peeling plastics, worn seats, and fading gauges added to its decline. By the mid-2020s, resale values had collapsed. High-mileage Lightnings could be found for under $10,000, with rougher examples dipping closer to $8,000. Dealers struggled to move them. Buyers were scared off by fuel costs, high insurance rates, and a lack of modern safety features. Even enthusiasts had begun to turn their attention elsewhere. To make matters worse, Ford reintroduced the Lightning name in the early 2020s, this time on a fully electric F-150. The new version emphasized utility, efficiency, and cutting-edge tech, drawing a completely different crowd. As a result, the original Lightning has faded from memory, its once proud legacy overshadowed by the newer, greener version. The first-generation Lightning still offers thrills, but today it's a tough sell, a relic from another era, stuck between muscle car heritage and pickup practicality. Now let's talk about a truck that didn't just demand attention. It practically shouted for it, yet still couldn't hold its value. Hummer H2 Sport Utility Truck. When the Hummer H2 Sport Utility Truck launched in the year 2005, it was one of the boldest and most polarizing pickups ever put on American roads. Based on the civilian version of the original military Humvee, the Hummer H2 had already made waves for its tank-like appearance and over-the-top presence. But the SUT variant went a step further by attempting to blend utility into its unapologetic personality, adding a pickup bed to the rear of the traditional H2 body. That bed, however, was more for show than function. With the midgate closed, usable cargo space measured just 36 inches. barely enough for a few bags of mulch. But for Hummer buyers, utility was rarely the point. The H2 SUT sold on one thing: presence. It looked powerful, aggressive, and unstoppable. It was the vehicle of choice for athletes, celebrities, and status seekers. If the regular Hummer made a statement, the SUT screamed it. Under the hood, the early models featured a 6.0-liter V8 engine making 316 horsepower and 365 pound-feet of torque. In the year 2008, that engine was upgraded to a 6.2-liter V8, bumping output to 400 horsepower. All models came with full-time four-wheel drive and either a 4-speed or 6-speed automatic transmission, depending on the year. Despite its off-road capability, most owners never took the Hummer anywhere near a trail. It was simply too big, too heavy, and too expensive to risk scratching. At over 6,000 pounds, the truck was more boulevard cruiser than rock crawler. Fuel economy was abysmal, often dipping below 10 miles per gallon, and tight city streets were its worst nightmare. By the year 2010, General Motors Company announced the end of the entire Hummer brand. The H2 SUT had already been phased out the year before, as demand faded and public perception began to shift. Environmental concerns, rising gas prices, and a recession-era economy all worked against the image of a hulking luxury truck. Used values plummeted. What was once a six-figure vehicle with dealer markups could now be found for a fraction of the price. High-mileage examples in rough condition began selling for as little as $8,000. The resale collapse was brutal, driven by poor reliability, expensive repairs, and outdated design. Common problems included failing air suspension systems, electrical issues, and rust in northern climates. Today, the Hummer H2 SUT exists in a kind of automotive purgatory. It is not quite old enough to be considered a classic, not rare enough to be collectible, and far from practical by modern standards. Dealers still holding these trucks face a losing battle. Younger buyers want efficiency and tech. Older fans have moved on. Some dealerships have resorted to massive discounts or requested government-backed incentives just to clear inventory. Up next, a pickup with a luxury badge and a bold promise, one that vanished from showrooms almost as fast as it appeared. Next up, a luxury pickup from Lincoln that aimed high and fell flat. Lincoln Mark LT. When the Lincoln Mark LT debuted in the year 2005, it was Ford Motor Company's attempt to bring luxury style to America's best-selling pickup platform. Built on the bones of the Ford F-150, the Mark LT was designed to compete with high-end offerings like the Cadillac Escalade EXT and capture a slice of the upscale truck market. Lincoln envisioned businessmen in suits stepping out of chrome-trimmed trucks with leather interiors and polished wood trim. On paper, it sounded promising: a luxury badge, proven platform, and growing demand for premium trucks. But underneath the elegant branding, the Mark LT didn't offer much that the F-150 Lariat trim didn't already include. It shared the same 5.4-liter Triton Phi 8 engine, producing 300 horsepower and 365 pound-feet of torque. The transmission, suspension, and even the basic frame were identical. What Lincoln added were cosmetic upgrades: more chrome, soft leather seats, wood accents, and an analog clock meant to add classic flair. The changes felt more like a package than a true transformation. Buyers took notice. While the truck looked the part, it lacked the exclusivity or innovation to command loyalty. The interior was plush but familiar. The ride quality, performance, and capability were respectable, but they mirrored what was already available at Ford dealerships for less money. As a result, sales lagged. By the year 2008, just a few years after its launch, Ford quietly discontinued the Lincoln Mark LT in the United States. The model found more success in Mexico, where it remained in production longer, but its American run ended with barely a whisper. Once the final units were sold and the brochures disappeared, the Mark LT faded from memory almost overnight. Fast forward to the mid-2020s, and the Mark LT is now a textbook case of automotive miscalculation. What was once pitched as a luxury pickup is now a hard sell on the used market. Resale values have plummeted. Well-kept models often list for under $10,000, while high-mileage versions can drop below $8,000. Depreciation has been relentless, and demand is almost non-existent. Mechanically, the Mark LT has held up fairly well, but common issues like leaky sunroofs, coil pack failures, and aging suspension components have started to surface. Parts are available, but many owners find it difficult to justify investing in a truck that no longer holds its value or status. Even among collectors, interest is limited. Dealerships still holding used Lincoln Mark LT trucks face a steep challenge. Buyers are wary of its lack of modern tech, underwhelming performance, and minimal aftermarket support. Some dealers have pushed for trade-in incentives or depreciation relief programs, hoping to recover at least part of their original investment. The Lincoln Mark LT aimed to redefine the luxury truck. Instead, it became a forgotten footnote, a truck that tried to impress with looks but failed to deliver where it counted. And finally, the #1 truck on our list, once the king of American roads, now quietly collecting dust on the sidelines. If you're still here, you clearly know trucks, and you care about where the market's heading, so don't miss what's coming next. Hit that subscribe button now. We've got more breakdowns, behind-the-scenes truths, and insider price alerts coming your way. Subscribe now and stay one step ahead of the collapse. Ford F-150 King Ranch. At the top of the luxury truck game just a few years ago, the Ford F-150 King Ranch and Lariat trims from the model, years 2015 through 2017, were considered the gold standard. They came loaded with leather interiors, cutting-edge tech, and rugged elegance. When new, these trucks could easily top $65,000, and dealers often added premiums thanks to strong demand. They were status symbols, favored by ranch owners, business executives, and high-mileage commuters alike. In 2015, Ford introduced a bold redesign of the F-150. The most talked-about change was the switch from a traditional steel body to a military-grade aluminum alloy. This move promised weight savings, better fuel economy, and resistance to corrosion. The King Ranch and Lariat trims took full advantage of the redesign, offering panoramic moonroofs, wood-accented interiors, massaging seats, and advanced towing tech. These weren't just trucks. They were luxury vehicles in disguise, but problems emerged quickly. While the aluminum body did reduce weight, it also made repairs more expensive. Body shops needed special equipment and training to work with aluminum. Minor dents or fender benders turned into $1,000 repair bills. Insurance premiums rose, shop wait times grew, and what once looked like innovation became an ownership headache. Then came the technology issues. The infotainment system, while modern at the time, quickly became outdated. Voice commands often failed, Bluetooth connectivity was unreliable, and touchscreens lagged. For buyers expecting luxury-level refinement, the tech experience fell short. Under the hood, buyers had options: the dependable 5-liter V8, the fuel-efficient 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6, or the powerful 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6. While performance was generally solid, many owners reported issues with the turbocharged engines, including carbon buildup and moisture in the intercooler. These concerns raised questions about long-term reliability, especially as trucks passed the 100,000-mile mark. By the mid-2020s, resale prices on these once premium trims had collapsed. Even well-maintained King Ranch and Lariat models with decent mileage could be found for under $10,000. In some regions, rougher examples dropped below $8,000. Depreciation has been brutal, especially for owners who paid near full price only a few years earlier. Dealers are stuck. The market has shifted toward hybrids, electrics, and smaller pickups with better tech and improved efficiency. Meanwhile, these older luxury models sit unsold. Younger buyers are cautious of the high repair costs. Older buyers have moved on. Some dealerships have resorted to offering massive discounts, trade-in bonuses, or are pushing for depreciation relief programs. The Ford F-150 King Ranch and Lariat trims once set the bar for what a luxury pickup could be. But today, they serve as a reminder that bold innovation without long-term support can backfire, especially in a market that never stops moving. And that wraps up our countdown. From diesel disappointments to fallen luxury titans, these once premium trucks now sit unloved on dealer lots, waiting for their second chance, or a government bailout. So now you've seen the full list. Trucks that once ruled the road, now abandoned by the market. If you found value here, don't just scroll away. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who still thinks their luxury truck is a goldmine. Trust me, this collapse is just getting started. Stay sharp, stay subscribed.